Hi, my name is James Hutchinson, and today's presentation is entitled No Room for Elephants in the Workplace, a Supervisor's Guide to Identifying Substance and Alcohol Abuse. What we're doing with the title of this is we're borrowing from the idea of the elephant in the room, which, if you're not familiar with the terminology, it's a problem that people realize is going on, but no one's talking about, kind of like having an elephant in the room. But also, there's also the connotations of little pink elephants that alcoholics and drug addicts supposedly see when they're hallucinating or going through DTs. But I mean, they're two separate ideas, but you know, that's where we drew the inspiration from for this presentation. All right, drugs and alcohol. Despite decades of battling substance abuse, there's always going to be somebody in the workplace that bring their bad habits to work. That's part of a drug problem. It's part of a drug addiction. Sometimes it's going to involve them actively using at work, and sometimes it's just going to be somebody coming in hungover, still feeling the effects of the drugs they're on. There's certain drugs you're not going to see a whole lot of people doing at work. Stuff like injectables that require a lot of time and space and privacy, things that the workplace doesn't always provide. As a supervisor, you're the last line of defense to protect your other workers against people who are going to come in under the influence and put everyone in danger. So you see, like most places where there's any risk involved in the job, you're going to have a pre-employment screen. So people are going to have to take a year analysis before they get hired on. So that's going to kind of deter people away but then again, they may think, well, if I can get, you know, clean this week, maybe, it'll be good after that. It's the same thing with random drug screens. Most places require these. It's a DOT requirement. You're going to go in, you're going to pick a certain amount of employees randomly, and then you're going to get them to take a urinalysis and alcohol screen. And you may catch someone, or you may not, or did they just not do any kind of drugs this week? All right. And see, your next kind of screen is going to be your post accident screen. That means somebody has gotten hurt, somebody has gotten killed, somebody was responsible. Like you can on these you can test the person who is hurt, or you can test the people most suspect of causing that injury, or both of them. If someone drops something on someone else from below, you have to ask the question, why did he drop that? And then you also have to ask the question, why was that guy standing there if it was a barricaded area? So, but at this point, like this is not the only way this is preventive is if we it is preventive of maybe the next time letting this guy come in on drugs and cause this problem if we found out drugs were related. So, as a supervisor, it's part of your job to keep the workplace free of drugs and alcohol and the hazards that are related to them. What you have to do is know your employees and watch your employees, know how they act uh, on a baseline example, and when they're acting out of the ordinary. This is you're granted certain rights as a supervisor that you can call attention to these things and require drug screens. That's something that you have to do. Like I know being buddy buddy with all your workers, being the nice guy, like it's hard, but if you see this person who's coming in, falling asleep on the job, not producing like they usually do, or not showing up, leaving early, like it's in the best interest of you, your employees, and the company to call this into question. But first, you got to know who you're looking for. Look at all the people on the screen we've got here, people from every race, gender, you know, background, different ages. You can't say this one, this one, this one, this one probably does drugs. There's no way, no way she does drugs, like, see, it's unfair to judge somebody by their appearance or their social standing, like, as if they're on drugs. So you have to keep an open mind, and that works both ways. You can't assume this young person who's always, has long hair. I got to keep an eye on him. He's probably, I see him hanging around with some shady people. Maybe he's on drugs. But you can't assume that Carol, your secretary of 20 years, you can't just assume she's naturally clean just because she is who she is. That's the problem with drug addiction in the workplace, or drug abuse in the workplace. It affects so many people in so many different ways. All right. The first thing we're going to discuss is what substance are we going to screen for with these DOT sanctioned screens. Our first is marijuana, and this is going to cover all of the new edibles that have come out since a few states have legalized. Amphetamines, which is going to cover stuff like methamphetamine, as well as over-the-counter amphetamines like different weight loss drugs that are rarely prescribed, but the more common ADHD medicines. Opiates. Opiates are a big class because they include not only a lot of your prescription pain pills like things that contain hydrocodone, such as Vicodin and formerly Loratab, but it also contains heroin and morphine. Cocaine. Cocaine includes cocaine and crack cocaine. The PCP and hallucinogens, that covers PCP as well as ketamine, and that's the fifth part of our 5-panel drug screen. And then there's the sixth step of a separate alcohol screen. All right. See, like I was saying earlier, we live in a time where weed is very close to being legalized. It is legalized in some places, but even in those places, DOT drug screens are going to test for it as part of your agreement to be in the workplace. And until total legalization and then the battle of how to deal with it in a workplace is settled, it's going to be tested for. It's not uncommon to know, people that work for you have used marijuana. It's very common for people in their youth, and you're probably going to be surprised when people do fail for it. It's like they can be they could be anybody, and you would never know. But now, what you're looking for your signs to catch, your abuse in the workplace, the strong smell. The smell is a dead giveaway. Like if they're smoking it, it does have a strong pungent odor. Maybe look for something trying to cover it up, like too much cologne coming back from a lunch break. Bloodshot eyes. Their eyes will be bloodshot, like it's probably dry mouth too. You're going to see a lot of, some people have uncontrollable laughter, depending on how much they smoke, like how they can handle it. They may be giggling at something that isn't necessarily meant to be funny or is funny. It's very increased appetite. As we all know from all the comedies and movies we watch, people love to eat after they get stoned. So, it's something to work for, but I would maybe not advise you to be screening everybody's lunch so strongly, but if you see something out of the ordinary, don't eliminate any of your clues. And forgetting things that just happened, or like a minor confusion. You talk about something like, or what we're talking about. But you gotta also know your employees. Is this normally a person who acts like that, or are they usually sharper? Like this, like none of these rules are like it's not set in stone there like that. But it's something to watch on. And then disappearance throughout the workday, returning in a different mood. Especially whenever you're using the smokable form of marijuana, like you're not going to be able to do that in the office, or riding in the truck with someone. So there's going to be a little duck off period there, and maybe you notice this is happening too often, and you kind of see a pattern. All right, now the amphetamines and the methamphetamines, like I said, they started out in World War II.